Engineer Farhan to welcome with a floral honor. Dr. Asmita, PG Scholar, Department of Dravaguna, to introduce Dr. Farhan Zameer, sir. It's my privilege to welcome.
Let me introduce myself. Okay, I am Farhan Zameer. Okay, and I work as the Chief Scientific Officer at Atma Research Center, and I work as a professor at Department of Dravaguna. I think that's sufficient for you. We'll not waste time. And the situation is absolutely challenging for me. Okay, wherein half of the audience is gone. Okay, and then complete audience has been saturated. Mic is not properly working. Then until now there was somebody at the PPT. Now there is nobody at the PPT. Okay, now Karthik sir is also going off. Okay, so and the icing on the cake is I have the last session wherein the brains are completely saturated, precipitated, and gone. Okay, so hopefully I'll try to make justice. So now when it is 4:55 and you are there, then that means to say you are the elite class, okay, wherein you are sitting here. So you really want to put up some more time, okay, to break your head and you surrender yourself, okay, so that I hammer you for another, not 1 hour. Okay, we'll see, depending upon other, sir. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, chalo. So this situation is absolutely challenging. And very quickly, I had a proposal to the organizing secretary saying, sir, by any point of time, tomorrow I will wake up 1 hour early. And by around 8 o'clock or by 7 o'clock or by 9 o'clock, at least I will try to deliver this lecture. Sir said, no. Today we will do it. Okay, so if you want to curse somebody, you know the name. Okay, so that's okay. Because the Papa should not come into my account. And I am in such situation wherein people have spoken about environment, rose. I cannot even accept rose now. I am in such a situation like I am moving up very very. Okay, so now when he is giving me, so should I take it or not? Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, chalo. Fun apart. We are here to discuss a very important component. Very important component. Though it is last, okay, late latest study here. Okay, so any point of time, if you feel bored or if you feel that some things are getting saturated, let me know. I can explain it in a different way. Okay, and hence all the unwanted things of introduction, etc., has been cut off. Okay, so I am here as your friend, and we'll see how much we can learn with each other. So that's the motto of the entire thing. And I don't have the entire plethora of slides. Hardly I have around 12 slides. Okay, and in that 12, one is the title slide and other is thank you. Okay, so hardly I have 10 slides. Okay, and in that 10 slides, I have not more than maybe 150 alphabets. Okay, so it would be some pictures, 10 pictures or 12 pictures and 150 alphabets. This is the entire content of my presentation for another dash slide. Okay, so that's the thing. So, I have been given a responsibility of, educating you on a topic which is called as phytoanalytics. So, from the morning session, when you look into it, next please. Okay, from morning session, what we now know is I have a plant. Okay, I have been to a garden. I have identified a plant, and this plant has been identified for a purpose. Maybe for some disease, for preparing malahara, or for kashaya, or from arka, for whatever purpose. But you know the purpose that it might work on either the skin disease, or it could be working on internally, or it could be working on a hair. So you know the plant and you know the purpose also. So I am skipping it. So knowing this, because to come onto the stage of phytoanalytics, you should already know all these things. So these are on default, okay, prerequisites to come onto phytoanalytics. Okay, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ ಮುಂಚೆನೇ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಅಥವಾ ನಾವು ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. and hence we need to come forward. Okay, so the plant, okay, and that has been over. You know for what disease you are trying to work upon, that is also known. Okay, and which part of the plant you are trying to take it up, that is also known by the researcher. The next part is, you are interested with understanding the phytochemical profiling. You are interested in looking at what exactly is the phytocomponent which is responsible for the activity. And what you did was, you had two options. One is doing a phytochemical analysis, which is called as phytochemical profiling, which is of qualitative in nature. Which is of qualitative in the nature. Example, when Subramania sir was explaining this morning, he said carbohydrate. Whether carbohydrate is present or absent. So this is qualitative in nature. So please remember, a qualitative test, I call it as analysis, qualitative test. So when you're writing a publication, you should always use the word as analysis or test, because it is qualitative, and all qualitative things comes with logic. And logic is, the computer works on logic. Logic is only two answers, yes or no. Allow me? Allow me? No. Answer is there. Who are you? Why should I love you? Get lost. So, answer is very straight. Okay, done? Done? Did you get it? So, yes or no is a logical answer. So, whether the carbohydrate is present in the sample or not is the logical answer, which is the end result of my qualitative phytochemical analysis. Whereas, quantitative, sir, you love me? Sir, I thought for the past 3 years we are working together, at least for some good reason, sir will love me. And I also understand there is another, competitor sitting next to him. Okay, who is the Ardhangini of sir. So hence, the answer is, otherwise in private we love each other. Okay. And the answer is yes. Okay, chalo. Now coming back, funna part. I would also go on to the funna part and come back to the subject, because only when I correlate the fun part with the science, you will remember the subject. Otherwise, with the whole phytochemical thing, you will not remember. So now, first qualitative analysis is whether sir will love me or not. Yes or no is a qualitative analysis. Whether carbohydrate is present or not is a qualitative analysis. Now, since sir said yes, that means to say, since in phytochemical analysis, if the answer is yes and only yes, then I will say, how much sir will love me? So if carbohydrate is present, I need to understand how much is the carbohydrate which has been present. So I will not do a test, I will do an estimation. So the next point what I will do is estimation of carbohydrate. Estimation. So the first was qualitative analysis. It was test for carbohydrate. But once the answer is only yes and only yes, I will go for quantitative. Remember, if by any point of time qualitative test says no, there is no point in doing my quantitative analysis. Example, ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ದುಡ್ಡೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಸಾಲ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ? Meaningless. Okay, absurd. Okay, hence it becomes very important that, though you say, sir, one test tube you put reagent, color is developed, this would be a very important parameter for your analysis, because when you set your foundation wrong, the entire building will collapse later. Okay, when you're doing, it's the cheapest analysis, and then it is just the color which has been developed. In Dodda Vishaya. But ಇಲ್ಲಿ ದೊಡ್ಡ ವಿಷಯ ಇದೆ, because this color which has been developed is subjective in nature. Because if you see the PPT, it was orange color, red color, brown color. For me, it is brown color, and for you, it is brownish red color. For you, it is just another color. Okay, so it is subjective in nature. So hence, I need to very precisely determine the color. Everyone, are you with me? So this is the qualitative analysis. So I now know plant identification, then I do all that rewrites, etc., microscopic, macroscopic, and then once I do that, I go for qualitative phytochemical profiling. Please remember, in the previous lectures, Vitamana said, all phytomolecules, we are trying to have a multi-starrer movie. Okay, in my story, I am the James Bond. Okay, so 007, James Bond, in the entire movie there are no 10 James Bonds. There is only one James Bond. And identifying that one James Bond in the entire population is my work. So this means to say, when I take up an extract, not all phytochemicals present in that extracts are active. There is only one James Bond, there is one phytochemical which is having a profound effect on the target whatever you are selecting. Everybody, are you with me? Chalo. So with this as a logic, the next what I know is I have the extraction. The next part is I am interested in extracting that phytochemical. Now please remember, how do I know if I have 5 extracts? How do I know that I want to select extract number 3? Phytochemical analysis is all good. Okay, but in phytochemical analysis I have got the entire set of phytomolecules which have been present. But I am interested with active ingredient. How do I know among the 3 or 4 extracts which is the extract of my interest? By doing activity, and this is called as bioactivity. So how do you identify it? By identifying the activity. So subsequently, hand in hand, you will try to isolate something, and the next step what you do is do a bioactivity. If I am doing antimicrobial, my plant is of antimicrobial, I will take up the extract, and then the next part is to check on antimicrobial. Every step, okay, I will confirm by doing bioactivity, and hence the entire extraction is being guided by something. And what is that guiding you? It is the bioactivity which is guiding you. And this kind of an analysis is called as bioactivity guided assays. Bioactivity guided assays. To go forward, your bioactivity will guide you which fraction you need to select and which fraction has to be omitted out. Everybody done. So once I know that this is the fraction, please remember, whatever until now I am talking about fraction is a crude fraction. ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ I have the crude fraction. How do I know I have an activity? By doing antimicrobial. Simple. Antioxidant ಅಂದ್ರೆ antioxidant, antimicrobial or anti-cancer ಅಂದ್ರೆ anti-cancer. Whatever is in your agenda, you do. Are you clear? Okay. Now the next part is I need to go for isolation. The next step is for isolation, and to isolate it, as Farhan sir was explaining, currently, he explained 3 different methods. One was soft plate, which is called as a hot extract, okay, or I can go to Clevenger's thing, which is for volatile oils, or I'll go for a distillation method. Again, there's a lot of principles which have been involved in it. I would not go into the principles of it, but on the way, what I'm trying to make you understand is I have options. I have a buffet of equipments which I can use for isolating that phytomolecules. Now, depending on your yukti, as Charaka said, I have said everything, but on the way, use your yukti. So, depending upon your yukti, you will select which is the methodology you will adapt for extraction of your molecule of your interest. So, this part is done. Extraction procedure is done, and we are standing at this point of time. Okay? Take a break of 10 seconds and talk to your friend. Take a break. Okay, and in this break, I want you to do an activity. If your friend or your neighbor would permit you, touch the nose of your friend, or else touch your nose. And the thing is, close your eyes and touch it. Okay. Andre sumne touch anta hang madadalla. Okay, you hold it like this, and then you navigate it, and then you go. And the navigation should be in the form of a snake. Come on, you are like snake like you cannot turn it. It should go as a snake, and then you need to touch. But sir, ನಾನು ಇಂಥ ಮೀರೇನೋ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ವೆಜ್ ನಾನ್ ವೆಜ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ರು. ಬಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ನನಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ. There's a smile on her face. Okay, chalo, done. The 10 seconds are over. This is whatever we did is called as calisthenics. Okay, so this is called as brain exercise, wherein for around 10 seconds or 20 seconds, I want to navigate you from the really discussed topic to something unrelated topic. And that is how you increase your memory, and you increase your perception on the topic for the next 20 minutes. So this is the thing. Okay, so I have the extraction which is being done. Now the greater agenda for me is to isolate my hero. Okay, from the entire group, I need to isolate my hero. How do I do it? How do I do it? By 3 important techniques. Next please. So 3 important techniques. Okay, and where the entire agenda of the technique is, you see here, there is a mixture. So when you say crude extract, when you say crude extract, this crude extract will have that yellow color is one kind of a molecule, blue color is another kind of a molecule, red color is another kind of a molecule, that small circular dot is another kind of a molecule. For our discussion, there are 5 different molecules, and for your surprise, in the plant when I take it, I have 5 million molecules. 5 million molecules is the minimal number of phytometabolites which have been present in a plant. 5 million. They have been formed because of the anabolic reaction or a catabolic reaction or an intermediate metabolism which has been formed, and because of that I have so many metabolites. I have so many metabolites, and these metabolites are plant origin, and hence I call it as phytometabolites. I call it as phytometabolites. Otherwise in my body I have carbohydrate, protein, so these are not called as phytometabolites. They are just called as human metabolites. Okay, which will help in growth, survival and reproduction of my body. Okay, but here I have phytometabolites, which are your primary plant metabolites, secondary plant metabolites and tertiary plant metabolites. Done? Now, the entire agenda here is how do I isolate that blue dot? We'll just keep it that as a yellow. How do I isolate that blue dot? Now, here comes the problem. This also you need to remember. Because I am trying to teach you purification, it does not mean that every time you purify something, the activity will increase. Got it? Okay. Because we are learning about purification process, isolating process, okay, it does not mean that once I isolate, okay, I am very successful in isolating a molecule, but on the way, it is not guaranteed that this isolated molecule will show me a bioactivity. Why? 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 Because phytomolecules, they work in synergy, they work in complexes. So, you know, we three, if we are working at the authority, we are working in complexes. Now, if you want to get a grant from CAMPA, then we need to work, all the three should work together. Now, by any point of time, letter is ready, signature is ready, but I am responsible for posting it. I will not do it. Then, though there was an activity which was been done, it is not been successfully completed. So, hence, remember, purification does not mean every time, it will never guarantee every time you have a bioactive phytomolecule. What is a bioactive phytomolecule? A phytomolecule which will exhibit the bioactivity upon purification is called as bioactive molecule. Example here, curcumin. Done? Okay, so it is not guaranteed. This is one part of the story. On the other part of the story, many a times when I purify this molecule, the molecule will show 1000 times more bioactivity than that of your crude extract. I am giving you both the options. Okay, the molecule can show 1000 times, 10,000 times more activity than your crude extract. Example, if I am trying to give you a kashaya, okay, and you know this kashaya is 200 ml or 300 ml. If I am trying to purify this particular activity, the same activity I will get it from 1 milligram of that particular tablet. Because I have purified it and then I have increased the bioavailability or bioactivity of that particular molecule. This is also there. So hence the entire word with, you know, you are chasing an oasis. Okay, the entire word is behind isolating a important molecule, because this important molecule will give me too much of money. Done? Now, very shortly, I want you to have a discussion on, you know, I apply Fair and Lovely. Okay, and you apply Kaya or Kama or Forest Essentials. Okay, whatever. Okay, now cream is a cream, face is a face. Okay, and for your information, boy's face is also the same, girl's face is also the same, because the skin is skin. Okay, so but on the way, I as a advertisement agency, I will play a game here. Okay, for a lady, it is Fair and Lovely. Now it is Fair and Glow. Okay, Glow and Lovely. So I have one of the user. Intentionally, I was wrong. Okay, so it is Glow and Lovely, and the other one is for men. That is also used. So it is Fair and Handsome. Now cream is a cream. Cream is a cream. Face is a face. Okay, I pinch and I pinch you. It's the same. Okay, but on the way, market strategy is different. Did you get it? Now, when I take a Fair and Lovely is around 65 rupees or 70 rupees. When I take up Kaya, Kama or Olay, etc., the serum will sell it around 2,500 rupees or 3,000 rupees. Now, have a discussion. Why is Fair and Lovely 65 rupees and why is your Olay maybe 300 rupees? Have a discussion for 10 seconds. What's the answer? ಮಾತಾಡ್ರಪ್ಪ. Everybody catch each other. ಬದುಕಿದಾರ ನೋಡಿ, ಉಸಿರಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದಾರ ನೋಡಿ. Okay. Huh? Yeah, they would have added, purified molecules in Ole. Okay, here they would have added just the base premix. Just the base premix. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹಚ್ಚಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ feel good factor. ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಅರೋಮಾ ಬರಬೇಕು, ಹಚ್ಚಿದಾಗ ಸ್ಮೂತ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು. But on the way, will it act as your sunscreen lotion? Will it protect you from UV? Will it protect you from oxidants? Will it protect from your wrinkles, etc.? That cannot be done with your fair and lovely. And hence, for these kind of phytomolecules and for all this, okay, you require phytomolecules and you require phytomolecules at a purified form because I want to add it at a very small concentration. Okay, and at that concentration they should be active. So the only option what I have is to purify. So don't say that, sir, whatever you are teaching is against Ayurveda principle, because Ayurveda says purification is a big no-no. I am not against it. Okay, but on the way, even if you are preparing an arista, okay, acharyas have prepared that you have a phytochemical, your draksha rasa, okay, you have phytochemicals which are solubilized in water and phytochemicals which is solubilized in ethanol. This is also nothing but purification. This is also nothing but your isolation. But on the way, the way, the perspective, the school of thought, I need to change it. That's it. Okay, done. So the first thing is, why am I trying to go for an isolation or purification? To analyze it, to identify the biomolecule and to purify the biomolecule. And once I purify it, I should know how much is the quantity which is being present. Okay, this is a very, very important step, because when I do the entire processing, if the end product is very, very small, if the quantitation is very, very small, the cost, the bioeconomics will shoot up. Okay, so example, saffron. Okay, so 1 gram of saffron, good saffron, could cost you around 3,000 rupees. But however, because when I produce it, with the final bioactive molecule, what I get is very, very minimal. Okay, this has a profound bioactivity, and then saffron is expensive. Did you get it? Okay, so as an Ayurveda practitioner or a person from RSBK or from Dravya, very important is what I need to remember is my process should be so that even the grassroots level people should be able to afford it. It might be cosmetics, or it could be nutraceutical, or it could be your drugs. Okay, so that's important. We may talk about technology, etc., but if you go to the grassroots level, okay, his entire income is around 200 rupees per day. Okay, and how can I buy your 200 rupees kashaya? Not possible. Okay, so the better thing what he will do is, I have a throat infection. And I have bad sore throat. Okay, so I need to go to consultant, then pay him, then get the medicine, etc. So for which I don't have money. It is not that I don't like it. I want to have that well-being, but I don't have money. What do I do? Huh? One, go to medical shop and say, Anna, give this, tell all the symptoms, and then Anna will give something to Tangi. Okay, and then Tangi will come and religiously eat it. And the nicest part is, it will not get cured. The best part is, again the Tangi will go to the same Anna next day. Covenanted relationship. Okay, so they go and say, Anna, nenne ಏನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ಅದು ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಇವತ್ತೇನಾದರೂ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ strong pudi. I have many Tangis here. Okay, so strong pudi. And this will lead into something which is called as antibiotic, resistance, drug resistance, etc. Your pharmacovigilance, etc. will come into picture. So hence, we need to be extraordinarily precautious. Okay, and the best part is, because as a layman, I am not able to afford it, I know one best medicine. ಯಾವುದೇ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿ, ಎಷ್ಟೇ ಸುಸ್ತಾಗಿ, ಏನೇ ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರು, ರಾತ್ರಿ ಏನೋ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಕುಟುಂಬ ನೀನು ಪ್ಯಾರಾಸಿಟಮಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಅವನಿಗೆ ಕೇಳು ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತ. And that is why alcohol, madam is like, ma'am, high five. You, high five. She was like, okay, so people will go for alcohol, and now I know, science noted, alcohol at a 70% is a sterilizing agent, and that is why, ಎಲ್ಲ sanitize ತೊಳೆದು ಸ್ನಾನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂದು ಮಾಡೋದು. Okay, but on the way, now when I drink it, because I know it's a bacterial infection, bacteria will die at 70%, so drink alcohol. Sir is also smiling. Okay. A person smiling at around 5:15 is a great achievement for me. Okay. Chalo. Done? Okay, so now this is the logic, and hence this is the need for me to isolate a molecule, and very importantly, today we will try to discuss three important methods in which two of the methodology would be mainly dedicated towards isolation or separation of that particular phytochemical, and one of the technology will be used for detection of that particular phytochemical. Now, please don't look at it as three bifurcated columns. Look at it as one amalgamated circuit of this and this. Okay, and these three important techniques are. Okay, so these three important techniques are, please remember, for separation, I'll be using two important techniques, and those two important techniques are called as chromatography, and the other one is called as electrophoresis. Okay, so when I say chromatography or electrophoresis, what should be the first? What is chromatography? Huh? Chromatography is a separation technique and the first buy number. Okay, so what is chromatography? It is a separation technique. It is a phytochemical separation technique. Okay, and then what is electrophoresis? It is a separation technique. It's a separation technique. So I have chromatography and electrophoresis as separation technique, and then I have the other technique which is called as spectroscopy, which is a detection technique. So is it clear? Okay, don't go with the slide, but on the way, is it clear? Okay, next slide. Okay, now why should I do it? Again, we have discussed a lot on why should I do it, because final intention is, okay, it is bioeconomical. Okay, okay, and hence entire the human race who are behind plants or behind chemicals, okay, they want to do these particular techniques because this is a highly revenue yielding business. Okay, and the speciality is you have been trained to do this business. Tomorrow, I finished my MD, I have finished everything, but I don't want to have a clinic. I know I don't like to have that particular interaction. Again, their own personal choice. Okay, I have been built with the profile of a doctor, but I want to do something more. Okay, that something more would be this one of the options. Well, you can become either sitting at home, you can become a consultant. Sitting at home, you can formulate newer drugs. Sitting at home, you can develop protocols. Huge amount of money. Okay, I am not just saying out of the thought, but on the way, all this I do, and because I do and I have survived it, and that's the reason I am trying to tell you. So this is a live example. Experience ಮಾಡಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು. ಕೇಸರಿ ಬಾತ್ ತಿಂದು ಕೇಸರಿ ಬಾತ್ ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಸ್ವೀಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಓಕೆ, ನಾನು ಡಯಾಬಿಟಿಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಚಲೋ. Done? Chalo. So now coming on to the first technique. Okay, I'll be a bit faster so that we will save time, because tomorrow we will actually see all these techniques. Okay, so the first technique is we are trying to learn the very good detection technique which is called as spectroscopy. Okay, and to do that, I want you to have your cap. Pen is cap here, I want to have that particular cap. Okay, everybody, you have a cap. Now please treat this as a particle of light. What is it? What is the cap? Hello, cap of it. Okay, so what is it? It is a particle of light, and this particle of light is called as photon. This particle of light is called as photon. Andre, if you are seeing me or when I switch on the light, okay, so there is photon coming and hitting me. Okay, and then it is getting reflected onto your eyes, and because of that you are able to see me. Imagine this photon is hitting me and passing out. What will happen? I'll become invisible. Mr. India, Anil Kapoor, Mogambo, or in Karnataka, Jai Karnataka movie. Okay, madam, Ravi Chandran was the hero. Okay, so again, so that is how you check talent from it. Okay, so the next part is, so that is the photon. Done? So what is photon? It is a particle of light. It is a light particle. It is a light particle. Now, if I put up onto this tube light, if I put up a high resolution, low speed camera, okay, you can actually see that particles coming. And in the room, you will actually see that dots coming and hitting you. High resolution, low speed camera. Now it is so fast, and then you move. Okay, I was not able to see it. Unless alpa hinginge madidre I will able to see it. So did you get it? So hence it is a particle of light. Done? Okay. Now I want you to do this. Shoot. Shoot your neighbor with your left hand. Shoot your neighbor with your left hand. Some interest. Okay. Finger. Shoot with interest. Okay. Okay. Done. Correct? So everybody is like this. Okay. Shoot me. Everybody shoot me. Okay. With your left hand. With your left hand, shoot me. Okay. This. Okay. Now, when you are doing this, please consider. Keep your hand that way. When you are doing this, this is your electric field. This is your electric field. Okay, done. This is, you can turn it this way. Okay, this can only happen in Rajinikanth movies. Okay, you shoot for this, okay, so this is your electric field and this is your magnetic field. This is your electric field and this is your magnetic field. Done? Are you with me? Now, please remember, electric field is perpendicular to magnetic field at an angle 90 degree. Done? Okay. Now, what do you have in your other hand? Very good. Photon. Keep that photon here. Keep that photon here. Okay. Example now. I'll borrow yours. Keep that photon here. Done? So now, when you keep a photon at an angle 90 degree, wherein electrical field is perpendicular to magnetic field, this photon will travel. This photon will travel and it will travel in this direction. It will travel in this direction. Done? Again, repeat. Okay, so you have electric field and magnetic field perpendicular to each other, and when I keep that kind of a photon, one single light particle here, okay, and when I switch on the electric field and magnetic field, this light particle will travel and this will travel in this direction. Done? Angare shoot ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಆಂಗಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಶೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ 1 2 3 ಬಟ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇದೆ straight. This rule is called as left hand rule. Okay, yaar ಕಂಡುಹಿಡಿದಿದ್ದು Fleming, and hence this is called as Fleming's left hand rule. So ಇಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೆ PUC ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್. Okay, so it is Fleming's left hand. Everybody, are you with me? Done? Okay, I want you to discuss Fleming's left hand rule with your partner for 5 seconds. Discuss very quickly. Okay, done? The 5 seconds are over. Done? Okay, so now everybody, okay, Chinu, ba. Okay, so once we are like this, okay, and it is traveling. When it is traveling, this can travel in two different types. This can travel in this light. What I said, it is traveling, or the photon, what it is traveling, it can travel in two different types. One, it can travel as a wave, or it can travel as a straight line. It can travel as a wave, or it can travel as a straight line. And this property of light, or this property of a photon, is called as duality of light. This property is called as duality of light. Okay, now the next part is to understand. I had this photon which was traveling, and when it traveled, okay, how did it travel? What is the resultant of this travel? How did it get generated? Because of electric and magnetic field. Because of electric and magnetic field, and this is creating a pattern. This is creating a pattern, and this pattern, any pattern, is called as an array. Any pattern is called as an array. A-R-R-A-Y. Okay, it's not Hindi array. Array bhai chodo. Okay, that's not that array, but on the way, it is a pattern. Okay, now when I say pattern, which pattern? It is in the form of a wave. So this kind of a wave is called as electromagnetic wave, and that pattern is called as spectrum. That pattern is called as spectrum. And how did we generate the spectrum? Because of the photon traveling between electric and magnetic field, and this is called as which kind of a spectrum? Electromagnetic spectrum. Done? Now, when I take the same photon and when it travels as an electromagnetic spectrum, it will give me a gradient. And then one smear kodutte. Okay, and that smear can either be arranged, that sphere or that spectrum. So that spectrum can be either arranged as increasing order of the wavelength and then going on to the decreasing order of the wavelength. So what is the wave? What's the wave? What's the wave? What's the wave? Please remember, the wave has two parts. The wave has two parts. This part and this part. Okay, so this is called as a thrust and this is called as a thrust. So one wave is equal to half thrust, half thrust, or one thrust is equal to one wave, and the total distance of this particular wave, that is one thrust and one thrust of that wave, the distance is called as wavelength. The distance is called as wavelength. Done? And please remember, the number of times a wave repeats in a given time, the number of times the wave repeats in a given time, this is called as frequency. Very good. Okay, this is called as frequency. And I told you, it will get, the photon will get in a pattern, it will get a smear. So it will not be random, it will be with a particular order. Either it will be arranged in a increasing order of the wavelength or decreasing order of the frequency, because wavelength and frequency are inversely proportional to each other. You're good with me? Okay, sure. ಹಿಂಗೆ ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಲೈಟ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ, that will produce so many arrays, and it will include ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವೇವ್ ದೊಡ್ಡದಿದೆ ಚಿಕ್ಕದಿದೆ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವೇವ್ ಅಗಲ ಇದೆಯಾ ಚಿಕ್ಕದಿದೆಯಾ ಅಥವಾ ವೇವ್ ಲೆಂತ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆಯಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ವೇವ್ ಲೆಂತ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ. ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ ಈ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಏರಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಪೀಟ್ ಆಗಿರೋದು. So frequency and wavelength are inversely proportional to each other. So please remember, when I have a larger wavelength of lesser frequency, that coincides for a new kind of a light spectrum, and that is called as radio spectrum. That is called as radio spectrum. ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಚಿಕ್ಕದಾಗಿರೋ wavelength, that is called as microwave spectrum. So walkie-talkie ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ radio, this is the spectrum what the walkie-talkie is using. Okay, ನಾನು ಈಗ ಮೈಕ್ರೋವೇವ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಸಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಲ್ವಾ, so this is the wavelength what I am using. Okay, and then when I go to much more deeper with lesser wavelength and more frequency, then I will go with infrared. Andre tatlallೂ ಕೂಡ I have infrared binoculars. Okay, wherein it will not detect the entire body. Okay, it will detect the heat which is being generated by the body. So madam, when I look into the binocular lenses, the IR lenses, she will see, I will see her as a fireball, a walking fireball. ಅವಾಗ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ, walking fireball ಹೀಗೆ ಕೈತಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ I will detect it as human. Okay, ಹೀಗೆ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ I detect it as some animal. I will not be able to tell you which animal. Okay, so that's the range of your IR. ಈಗ I am seeing you, you are seeing me, that is mainly because of visible. And then beyond that, okay, wavelength is lesser, frequency is more, that means to say it is ultraviolet. Okay, if it is much more higher, then okay, ultraviolet will reach my skin, and that is how it is causing my skin damage, wrinkles, etc. And that is why I am using the sunscreen lotion, etc. The next part is if it is percolating inside, okay, ಇನ್ನೂ strong ಇರಬೇಕು. If it is percolating inside, it is percolating my bones. So if I want something to percolate my bones apart from my skin, that should be your X-ray. ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ I will go to something which is called as gamma rays. ಅಂದ್ರೆ skin visible is just visible, it is not causing any damage. ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಕಡಿಮೆ ultraviolet which can percolate my skin, okay, or my some cells, epidermal cells. ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಒಳಗೆ ಹೋಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ it is X-ray, which I go for X-ray scan, etc. because it is able to percolate my bone. Okay, and then gamma rays, it can actually target your osteoblast or osteoclast, okay, at a cellular level. this is the reason when somebody is suffering with cancer, you're trying to use what rays? Gamma rays to kill the minutest cancer cell which has been present. ಈಗ ಯಾರೋ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ರೇಡಿಯೇಷನ್ ಥೆರಪಿ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಾನು ರೇಡಿಯೋ ವೇವ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನನ್ನ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಮೆಡಿಸಿನ್ ಕೊಡೋ ಬದಲು ಸಿರಿಂಜಲ್ಲಿ ನೀರು ತುಂಬಿ ಪುಷ್ಪ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದು. What do I do? For a patient, it's a treatment, but on the way I know this will not work. This will not work. So this is the logic. I want one volunteer. So you are smart, please come here. Last speaker also, utilize you, and you are also my model. Okay. So now, pay attention. You are here. So this is my sample, and I am light. Okay, this is what? A phytomolecule. This is a phytomolecule and I am light. So light I am bringing and bombarding it. Okay, so what is happening to the molecule? Now this is like, observe the molecule and tell me the real sense what is happening. I am light and I am coming and bombarding it. What is happening to the molecule? Tell me vibrate like that. Tell me vibrate like that. Okay, so it is if I consider this backbone as the central curvature, it was just hitting the periphery. Andre when the atom it is just hitting the electron which is outside the nucleus central is there, it is hitting the outside electron. So normally when I do the visible spectroscopy, I am touching the electron of an atom. Done? And now I will increase my energy. Okay, so again I am UV and I am heating it. So yenagutte? So now it is what is it? The molecule will vibrate. This is the next step. Again I will increase my energy. Okay, so I am hitting it. The molecule is oscillating, but look into the foot. It is not changing its position. That is orbital or orbit is not being changed. But on the way for some time it is orbit. So it is oscillating. Orbit is strong. Okay, so done. Okay, now the energy is much more higher. Now when I hit it, this molecule left the orbital and it got displaced from a smaller orbital to a higher orbital because it has gained energy and light is the source of energy. Done. And now I have something which is called as gamma. Okay, so now when I hit it, where is the molecule? Molecule will go into a different orbit. Did you get it? Now, okay, the speciality is, if I consider you as that 100 phytomolecules, each phytomolecule will behave differently when I hit the ray of light to a given molecule. Example, if I have madam, okay, when I hit madam, please come on. You stand here. Okay, so now look at these two molecules. These are present in your decoction. These are two different. So when I have these two molecules, look into what is the difference in these two molecules. One is of a smaller size and the other one is of larger size. Correct? So I am talking in terms of molecular weight of the molecule. So this is having a smaller, lesser molecular weight and this is having more molecular weight. So now when I have this kind of a vibration thing, when I bring that UV light or infrared light and hit this molecule, what will happen? This molecule will show a characteristic behavior which is only unique to this molecule. And the same light, when I hit this molecule, it will also show a characteristic behavior at that particular wavelength. Okay, and measuring this characteristic behavior of a phytochemical when hit by a particular spectrum, UV spectrum or infrared or visible or hit by a particular spectrum. What is it? Analyzing or understanding the characteristic behavior of a phytomolecule. Okay, when it is being hit with a particular wavelength of light. Okay, wherein I am trying to measure what? The behavior of this particular molecule, and hence I call it as spectra, because this molecule, how exactly it is behaving with interaction of light. So what am I doing? I am trying to measure its behavior in a spectra. So I call it a spectro, and then I measure it. Scopy is nothing but measurement, and hence what is spectroscopy? It is the detection method in which I identify the characteristic behavior of this molecule when hit by a particular spectra or wavelength of light, and this is unique for this molecule. No other molecule will show the same unique behavior. So this means to say this is the fingerprint of this particular molecule. So if I have 10,000 different molecules and this molecule is mixed with the 10,000 molecules, very aram say I can identify which is the molecule of my interest, because I know apart from this molecule none of the other molecules will behave similarly. So this kind of a technique is called as spectro. Take it. Discuss with your friend. Very like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, have a discussion. Next. Madam, ಹೆಂಗೆ ಪಾಠ ಕೇಳೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೀರು ಕುಡಿಸಿ ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡೋದು. ಓಕೆ, ಅವರು ನೀರು ಕುಡಿದು ಹೊಡೆಯಪ್ಪ ಸಾಕಪ್ಪ. ಓಕೆ, done. Okay, that is with regard to spectroscopy. Done. Now, very importantly, pay attention. I intentionally am trying to teach you all these things because tomorrow you will see the equipment. When you see the equipment and when you do it, this principle I will not be able to tell you there, because that is just a dabba. And within the dabba, what is happening I will not be able to explain. Okay, and hence just pay attention on the principal part of it. Now, all types of spectroscopy, pay attention. All types of spectroscopy, okay, it depends on one principle, and this principle is which talks about only two parameters. One is A, which is proportional to C. Okay, what is A here? Okay, please remember, this is the entire principle of all spectroscopies, wherein A is absorption. So when I hit a ray of light on the phytomolecule, this phytomolecule can show two behaviors. One is absorption of light and emission of light or transmittance of light. So A refers to absorption of light. So please remember, A is absorption and C is concentration. So that means to say, when a given sample absorbs more light, then the concentration is more. The concentration is more. Example, I have ujala, neat. Okay, so in 100 ml, I add 1 drop of ujala. In 100 ml, I will add 10 drops of ujala, which would be a pungent blue color. 10 drops. So now this 10 drop beaker will absorb more light because it has more amount of phytomolecule, and this corresponds to the concentration of the phytomolecule. So absorption is directly proportional to concentration. This law is called as Beer's law. Beer's law. Okay, so this is called as Beer's law. There is another law which is called as Lambert's law. Okay, wherein he says that absorption of a given sample is proportional to directly proportional to concentration, but with the criteria saying that the path length has to be kept constant. What is the path length? What's the path length? If you see that particular sample holder, you see that pink color. Okay, that is a solution. So the amount of or the distance wherein the light will travel in the sample, okay, that distance is called as path length. And what does Lambert says? How the absorption is proportional to the concentration, but path length should be unity, that is constant. Constant is 1 centimeter. Example, if I increase the path length, concentration is not directly proportional to absorption. I want you to imagine this is a dark room and a torch. When I switch on the torch, what is the status here? Bright light. As it goes there, it dims up. The same is because I am increasing the path length. So remember, absorption is directly proportional to the concentration with the constant path length. This factor was given by another person who was called as Lambert. Now, the Royal Society finally said, I will combine these two and say, all spectroscopies will work on one particular law, and this law will be called from today as Beer-Lambert's law. Beautiful. Now, what is Beer-Lambert's law? Absorption is directly proportional to concentration, but at a constant pattern. This is Beer-Lambert. Over. ಎಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪೀಸು ಇದೇ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, including a colorimeter, spectrophotometer, fluorimeter, luminometer, whatever meter which will take up light as a source and determine the concentration. It will work on Beer-Lambert. Very clear? Discuss with your friend. 5 seconds discuss with your friend. Because this is very important for you to understand. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. By any point of time, if you feel tired or it is like too much, let me know so that I can I can be a bit faster. I can just finish it up, or I can skip something. Okay, done. Okay, good. We will play board algorithm. PPT ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ PPT ನಾನು ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. This are not come as dowry. ನೀವು ನಾವು dowry ತಗೊಳ್ತೀರಾ? I got married and I did not take anything, and humble request, social request is please don't take dowry. Okay, because I'll tell you the reason. Because okay, I would love to give dowry if I'm really I'm powerful, okay? But on the way, if I am that humble, okay, I will not take dowry. If I am not giving it also, I will not take it. This is for a simple reason that, just imagine I am a female, okay? Now, for 25 beautiful years, okay, I have spent in a particular family, okay? You are my mother, you are my parent, you are my brother, sister. I do not have a guts, like as a male, I do not have a guts on the 26th day to go to somebody's house and lead the rest of my life. As a male, I do not have this guts. You agree? For doing this, you want to have great amount of guts, which I don't have as a male. You agree? And hence, because you are sacrificing that, which I cannot never do in my life, because of that, I want to respect you with something which is like nominal in terms of dowry. So rather than me taking dowry, just for the sake of that male kind of thing, okay, so rather than that, I would love to give it, because that is a respect saying that I cannot compensate you, but this is a small token of love what I want to give you to welcome you into my house. So this is why I would not take dowry. Now would you like to take dowry? Innocently, yes or no? Okay, that was a joke. Yes. Okay, chalo. That was not a joke. I am very serious. I can actually do it. Okay. I am a trained biochemist, and my job in different part of the world was to wait for death. Okay, so people would have donated their bodies. The moment they would die, I would have, because in the first 6 hours, enzymes will go down. So I would have taken up their brain, the spinal cord, and the gut. That was a part of my research. Okay, and then we looked into Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, okay, multiple sclerosis, using your likely drug, which was called as cannabis. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, so that was the part of the thing. So I can really do it. Okay, chalo. Okay, next slide. Done. Okay, now again, remember with all that spectra. Now I am not talking with the other 7 kind of spectra. I am only focusing on one kind of a spectra, which is called as visible spectra. Now visible spectra runs with a wavelength of 400 to 800 nanometers. So whenever if this light is bombarding light, so it is giving up a wave, and that wavelength is between 400 to 800. Between 200 to 400 is UV. Between 200 to 400 is UV. Now beyond UV, then 400 to 800 is visible. So now what am I showing onto the monitors? Your visible spectra. That means to say the wavelength light is 400 to 800 nanometer. Now and that's the light. Okay, that's the source. Because all spectroscopy, the entire story starts with light. So I have the source of light. Now, because I speak about visible spectra, what kind of a light is it? Visible spectroscopy or visible light. How do you generate visible light? Your bulb. Okay, if you remember, now we have all this LED, etc., etc. Obi Ryan Kalandu, you had? Okay, and when the shopkeeper gave you, he said that, ಹುಷಾರಾಗಿ ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗುವ ಕೈಯಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಡ ಹುಷಾರಾಗಿ ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗು ಅಂತ. You would have bought it as gold. ಹೀಗೆ ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಅಪ್ಪನು ಬೈತಾರೆ. Okay, so why? There was a small filament which was called as tungsten filament. So the gist of the story is, for visible light, when I give electric energy to a metal which is called as tungsten, it will generate light, and this light is of what wavelength? 400 to 800, which is called as the super. Okay, did you get this? Now the problem here is visible light, because I know that I have seen rainbows. Visible light has the capacity to generate how many colors? 7 colors. So the light which is coming out of this particular so the light which has been coming out of this particular bulb is multi-directional, because it is going all the ways. Okay, and then it is multi-colored because there is 7 colors. Okay, so now what do? I put up a condenser, which is, rather than scattering, I am trying to condense it. I am trying to convert it into one direction. So hence I have the condenser. The next part is, I will add something which is called as a monochromata. The word mono is one, chroma is color, color is the apparatus which can do it. So this means to say, your 7 color light can be converted into 1 color light. And hence it is, rather than 7 color, all the 6 colors will get filtered, only 1 color will be passed on. Done? And then this passing is again multi-direction. So once it comes out of the monochromata, how many types of light do you have? 1 type of light. You see here? 1 type of light. Okay? But it is multi-directional. What do? I put up something which is called a slit, which is called as just a pinhole. Okay, so when I do that, your multi-directional light will become unidirectional. So the entire intent here is to convert a multicolored light into monocolored light, multi-directional light into unidirectional light, and that light comes and hits the sample. That light that particular light will hit the sample, which is called as a cuvette. Okay, which is nothing but the sample holder. So once it hits the cuvette, and this cuvette contains the solution, test solution. In your case, it is a phytochemical. Now, go back to Lambert law. What should happen here? If the concentration is more, absorption of light would be more. Okay, and under what condition? Path length. You see this? Tomorrow I will show you. Cuvette sizes. Inner diameter is 1 centimeter, which is following your Lambert's law. So hence, when Lambert's law is being satisfied, A is directly proportional to C, and that is how much light it has been absorbed, and the amount of light which is being emitted out is being measured by a detector, which we call it as photocell. And that photocell will tell how much of light is coming out, how much is absorbed. If I put up 100 photons, 60 photons are absorbed. Emitted is 40. So it will measure 40. Okay, and then it will tell you whether you want to check the percentage transmittance or percentage absorbance. Okay, depending upon your option, it beka or beka. Okay, so once you can do it, then it will come into the display, and this display is called as OD. Okay, OD is optical density. Okay, OD is referred as optical density. Bitti tak saying OD, so hange this is called as optical density. So this entire thing put into a dabba is nothing but your spectrophotometer. So this is the logic of spectrophotometer. Okay, it could be anything. The only difference between UV spectroscopy and visible spectroscopy is everything will be the same. Very good. Light is different. Here, rather than tungsten filament, I will be using another filament which is called a deuterium T2 lamp. A T2 lamp will produce UV light. Rest everything will still remain the same. And then, rather than me calling it a visible spectra, I will now call it as UV spectra. So this is the story of your spectrophotometer. Done? Take a break. Now don't discuss anything. So now, turn on to your partner and show a weird face. Hey, which I used to tell the pata ketta idea. Ha ha ha. Okay, turn and give a weird face, weird smile to your partner. The entire intention is your muscles should get expanded. Okay, make a crooked face so that your muscles should get expanded. Okay, so that the dopamine will get triggered. I'm still happy. It is coming back. Last 10 minutes and I'll try to wind it up. Coming back. What do you see here? Colors. Now we need to identify why is the given fabric or why is the given material possessing a color. Please remember, whatever you're wearing, okay, when it was been actually produced into the mill or the textile industry, all the textiles were white in color. All the textiles were white in color, and then there was a chemical which was being added on this white try to dye it. Okay, so that in one or the other way they contain a color. And now what I do is I want to measure it. So what do? I try to measure color, and this technique of measuring color is called as chromatography. Oh, okay, this technique is called as chromatography. Chroma or moles, etc. What does chroma mean? Color. Okay, because it is like chroma mole, it is trying to bring colors, and colors, whenever you have colors, you are living life on them. You are trying to bring life, and that's the meaning of your phone, which is called as Vivo. What do you mean by Vivo? How many of you have Vivo phones? Okay, what do you mean by Vivo? Vivo is the life on that. And then in your life, your phone has become your life on that. She did not get it. Okay, so I can take your money, you don't care. But if I take your phone, it is the integral part of your body. I have smashed it. Most important about phone. Okay, so I'm trying to measure color, and this technique of measuring color in a phytochemical is called as chroma is color, chromato, and graphy is measurement. You measure the color, and this technique is called as chromatography. We will all see it tomorrow, but on the way, just to have an introduction. Next one. So types of chromatography. Okay, this is very important. I want your 5%, 100%, 5 minutes, 100% attention. Okay, now when I talk about types of chromatography, because tomorrow I am not able to ಅವಾಗಲಿಂದ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಳೆ ಅವ್ರ ಪಾಪ ಅವಾಗಲಿಂದ ಕಲಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಕಚ್ಚು ಮಾರ ಕಿಲಿ ಕಚ್ಚು ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೋ. ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದಂತೆ ಎಕೋ ಆಗಿ ಅಥವಾ ನನ್ನದು ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕೋ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಇಷ್ಟು ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ಬ್ರೇಕಪ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದಲ್ಲ? ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಅವಾಗ ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಅವು ಅವಾಗಲಿಂದ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. This some important discussion. Okay. Hope that is not the case. Okay. Only sir. ಈಗ ಇದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ ಸರ್, ನೀವು ಇರ್ತದೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Okay. Chalo. Okay. Pay attention. I am jumping. I am doing all this Bharatanatyam just for you. Okay. Otherwise, I know all this concept. Okay. So we are trying to look upon types of chromatography. ತುಂಬಾ ಗಮನ ಇಟ್ಟು ಕೇಳಿ. I'll be a bit faster so that with the time constraint. Once I know that I'm trying to measure colors, I have two methods in which I can measure color. One by applying pressure, other is by not applying pressure. So anything when I apply pressure and do a chromatography, that is called as pressure induced chromatography. The other type is called as non-pressure induced chromatography. This is clear? Okay. Now the first thing is we will talk about non-pressure induced chromatography. In the non-pressure induced chromatography, I will be using a surface to perform chromatography. If this surface is paper, to perform chromatography, I will be using a surface. And this surface, if it is paper, then that type of chromatography is called as paper non-pressure induced chromatography. I'm using that as paper and I'm not using any pressure. So it is non-pressure, but it is the surface is paper. Done? Now, in this paper, if I'm using a circular paper, then it is called as circular paper chromatography. Then it is called as circular paper chromatography. Okay. So, well, in circular paper chromatography, I will plot the samples at the center. Here. This is circular paper chromatography. Or, I still take a paper and plot the samples here, and the samples will run like this. So, from bottom to top. Okay. So, this kind of a chromatography is called as ascending chromatography. Ascending but on what? Paper. It is called as ascending paper chromatography. Or, the third type is, again I am still using paper, but rather than plotting the sample at the bottom, I will plot the sample at the top, and then the sample will run like this. So it is called as descending paper. Done. Now I have a problem with this particular technique. The problem of this particular technique is I can separate the sample, but I cannot collect it, because the amount of sample what I have added is very minute. So it will help in getting me a color. But if you say, sir, isolate, dig and isolate, this technique will not allow you. Did you get it? So hence, I want to develop a new method wherein it is still chromatography, but it should get separated and it should allow me to separate. And hence, rather than using paper, I am using another material which is called as silica. Okay, that material is called as silica. So, on an aluminium sheet, I will coat silica and then perform a chromatography. This type of chromatography is called as thin layer chromatography, which is nothing but your TLC. Which is nothing but your TLC, wherein I am taking up silica and putting it onto the aluminium sheet. So now, with all these types, okay, everything was run on a paper, on a surface, on a plateau. All these type of chromatographies are called as planar chromatography. All the paper and the TLC is called as planar chromatography. Why? You are running it on a plane, on a surface. This is called as planar chromatography. Done? Okay, so now we have understood three different things. One is pressure. I have not applied pressure, so it is non-pressure. And then all the techniques are planar. And then what are the two surfaces? One, it could be paper. And again in paper I have three different methods. One is circular, ascending, descending. Very good. Then, okay, what is the drawback? I can separate, but I cannot collect it, isolate it from the paper, and hence I will have a coating on a metal sheet, and this would be nothing but your silica. And whatever I do with silica is called as thin layer. I coat a thin layer, and hence it is called as thin layer chromatography. Mr. Taika, done? Okay. Now, on the other hand, I will take this TLC thing and then put it into a type of a column. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I will not tell. Okay, so I will put it into a shape of a column, and I will not apply pressure on it. This type of chromatography is called as column chromatography. I will not apply pressure. So hence it is non-pressure induced column chromatography. Non-pressure induced column chromatography. Again, this comes under the category of non-pressure. But on the way, rather than on a plateau, on the surface, now I am running it on a column. So I have A and B, point A and B, and I have a hole, I have a tube. Okay, this is called as column. Here, in column chromatography, if I am using the gel, okay, which will be helpful in separation. It will be helpful in the separation based on what factor? Based on the molecular weight of the sample. Example, if V3 are the phytochemical, if you put us all the three into the tube, who will come first? Who will come first? The molecule which is heavier, me. Okay, compared to them, I am heavier. So the molecule which is heavier will come first, then followed by sir, then followed by sir. So what did I do in a column? Depending upon their molecular weight, I separated them. Okay, this type of chromatography is called as GPC. GPC refers to gel permeation chromatography. It is a type of column chromatography wherein I am not applying pressure, but on the way I am separating it based on difference in their molecular weight. I am separating based on difference in their molecular weight. Okay, so for performing GPC, what is the prime criteria, sir? For performing GPC, there should be difference in the molecular weight. If all these three molecules are 50 kg, 50 kg, 50 kg, you cannot perform GPC. Done? So this is GPC. So for GPC, the molecule, the phytomolecule should possess difference in their molecular weight. Next. The other is, what if I have a phytomolecule wherein there is no difference in their molecular weight? What do we do? But I still want to do separation. Then I will be using the charges in them, the power of charges. So these are two molecules. These are 50-50 kgs, but on the way, this is a positive charge molecule, which I call it as cation. This is a negative charge molecule, which I call it as anion. So based on the difference in their ionic charges, I will separate using column chromatography, and that's the type of chromatography is called as ion exchange chromatography. I am sure that you would have seen ion exchange chromatography. All your water filters, okay, you have the blue color, if you go to big hotels, you have a blue color cylinder-like containers, that is nothing but ion exchange chromatography. Done? Okay. Now, what if a molecule has no difference in their molecular weight and there is no charge difference also? Then I will separate based on its affinity. If I have 100 houses, I will only go to my house. Why? I have an affinity there. I have an affinity there. Okay, so this means to say, okay, there is lovingness towards my house. And that's the reason I am going into that particular house. Did you get it? So this means to say, every biomolecule has a receptor. Every biomolecule has a substrate. So depending on the substrate, I am trying to get it separated. Okay, so that kind of a chromatography is called as affinity column chromatography. And the last one is called as adsorption column chromatography, wherein the molecule will get absorbed, not absorbed, it will get absorbed, adsorbed on the surface. Okay, if I have two molecules which will get absorbed and the other one will not get absorbed, what will happen? The one which will get absorbed will stick here, the other one which will not get absorbed will come down. So I am separating two fractions. So all these are types of TLC also, but the technique is different. Logic is still the same, but tomorrow we'll talk about it. Did you get it? So what's the gist of the story? Discuss with your friend. We have finished the discussion of non-pressure induced chromatography. Very quickly discuss with your friend. Next option. Now the problem here is, in all these technologies, technologies, the molecular size should be a bit larger. Now what if for a phytomolecule, if the molecular weight is very, very small, it has to be pushed, right? It has to be pushed from, from top to bottom. So I need to apply pressure from the top, and whatever chromatography is wherein I apply pressure, those type of chromatographies are called as pressure-induced chromatography. Pressure-induced chromatography. As we have seen in the non-pressure induced, the same is the logic here, but the difference is here I am applying pressure. Now coming back to the planar. On to the planar. Now previously we spoke about the planar. What are the two options? Material, paper and TLC. Now if I apply too much of pressure on paper, what will happen? Air. So at any point of time, I cannot perform paper chromatography under pressure. Story is over. Gone. The only option what I have is, on a silica plate, I can apply pressure and separate the molecule which is even smaller in size, I can separate it. So this technique wherein I am applying pressure on a TLC is called as HPTLC. HP refers to high pressure thin layer chromatography. That is called as HPTLC. So all your project work you do lot of HPTLC, etc. This is what HPTLC means. Basic principle is still remaining the same as that of TLC, but on the way, the only thing is I am applying pressure. This technique is called as HPTLC. Done. Now I have the column. Again, principle of the column, TPC, affinity, ion exchange, everything is still the same. But on the way, I am applying pressure on the column. Now if I am applying pressure on the column is actually glass. What will happen? Break. So I will be using metal rods or metal tubes. Okay, so all pressure columns will be made up of an alloy or a metal, stainless steel. Now I apply pressure on it. So here I will be using a liquid phase, which I call it as mobile phase. So if the mobile phase is liquid, then I call it as LC. Which is called as LC is my friend Allah. It's a Christian name, LC is friend. Okay. Okay, so it is LC is liquid chromatography. LC is liquid chromatography. But on the way, on this liquid chromatography, which was a non-pressure, now you apply pressure. Which pressure? Less or more? High pressure. So LC became HP. LC. This is nothing but your HPLC. This is nothing but your HPLC. So on any column, GPC, affinity, adsorption, whatever, but on the way, if it is made up of metal and if I am applying pressure, then that kind of a technique is called as HPLC. If it is planar, then it is HPDLC. If it is in a column, and if the mobile phase is liquid, then it is called as LC. On an LC column, you are applying pressure, and so that technique is called as HPLC. Here I have another alternative, wherein rather than liquid being the mobile phase, I can use gas as a mobile phase. And this kind of a chromatography wherein I use gas is called as gas chromatography. Okay. This is called as gas chromatography. Done? So these are the various types of chromatography. Just to tell you, my dear friends, I do training sessions, maybe on HPLC, on GC. I teach for around 10 days or 15 days, and I charge 45,000 rupees to 50,000 rupees per 15 days, per student. Okay. This is not just to make you understand that, but what I am trying to make you understand is you have huge amount of money into this domain. And you being an Ayurvedic doctor, wherein you know the plant, you know the phytochemical, and if you learn the extraction, the world is yours. The world is yours. Okay. So it is, she has a brand which is complete go green, complete Ayurveda. Okay, and Ayurveda doctors are not making money. Deepika Padukone is making money. Specialty is she does not have a Ayurveda degree, but on the way, huge money is being made by her. What I am trying to make you understand is, Government of India, Government of Karnataka is pushing a lot of money in startup funds. Okay, open up your startup fund. Okay, open up your small industry, open up your small enterprise, and then all this. If your knowledge is power. Okay, money is not power. Knowledge is power. Okay, Ambani will hire you. Why? Because of knowledge. So Ambani has huge amount of money. But if he wants to replicate that money, if he wants to duplicate that money, if he wants to increase that money, he wants knowledge, and you are knowledge. Okay, and if you don't know how to encash yourself, then you will blame what? You will blame Ayurveda. Yakadu Ayurveda degree tagondu. Okay, yakadu alavasallu odudnu. Yakadu nanu inta faculty sikkadru anta. Everything is a blessing. The only people what you need to blame is yourself. Because you did not actually take the advantage of it. Okay, what is the ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಇರೋದು 6 ಗಂಟೆ ತನಕ ಯಾರು ಕೂತಿರೋದು ನೀವು. ಸೊ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು? ನಿಮಗೆ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ನನಗೆ ಹೊಟ್ಟೆ ಹಸಿದಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ನನ್ನ ಊಟ ಅಡಿಷನಲ್ ಇರೋದನ್ನ ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು. ಅದರ್ವೈಸ್ ನಾನು ಹೊಟ್ಟೆ ಹಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದು ಇವ್ರಿಗೆ ಊಟ ಕೊಡೋದು ನಾನು ದೊಡ್ಡವನು. ಅಷ್ಟು ಫಿಲಾಸಫಿ ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ philosophy when my tummy is full. So just make sure there is a huge amount of money, try to engage. Then this is the principle of chromatography. Don't take it easy. Anta rocket science ಏನಲ್ಲ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ದಿನದಲ್ಲಿ everybody will have ticket for space. You will have maybe in another 10 years you will have a ticket. Okay, this ticket for space. So this is not rocket science. This is all was done 30 years back, 40 years back. TLC was done in 1924. And by whom? Not by somebody great, by a botanist, Michael Weston. Okay, so that's it. So and he separated what? Something which is color. what is color in the plant? Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll was the first molecule which was been separated on chromatography as chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B and chlorophyll C, and for which the entire world actually respects Michael Twist because he was the person who gave the idea of separating phytomolecules. Otherwise, it was still everything as mixed. Done? This was with the story of chromatography. I think types are done. All this is TLC. Okay, this will actually look into it. This is the column. Okay, next. Electrophoresis analysis. I will take, can I take 5 minutes? Madam has given a leverage, sir. If you teach like this, I will sit for 1 more hour. Promise ಮಾಡಿ ಇಂತ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಪ್ರಾಮಿಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಡಿ ಇವನು ಹುಚ್ಚ ನನಗೆ 7 ಗಂಟೆ ತನಕ ಮತ್ತೆ ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. Okay, so the last technique is, okay, again, what is electrophoresis? Separation technique. So here what I do is, here this is mainly specialized for biomolecules. Please remember, it is not for all phytochemicals. So if I want to perform electrophoresis, the word electro means current. Phore refers to poles. Cis refers to the phenomenon. So now if you want to have a molecule which should be separated because it's a separation technique, you need to put that molecule in an electric field. And in an electric field you need to provide current and you have a pore-like molecule, pore-like gel or a matrix. Through this matrix it should percolate. Okay, and this should percolate, and depending upon this, depending upon the molecular weight of the analyte or depending upon the molecular weight of the phytochemical will get segregated. Example, for making things easier, I have 3 stones. One is a rock, one is a stone, and one is a pebble. Okay, one is a rock, the other one is stone, and the other one is pebble. I have all the 3 in my hand and I am throwing it up. This is the electric field. I am throwing it up. Which one will go far? Pebble will go far, followed by stone, followed by rock. So rock will fall very near to the point of origin. Okay, so same in the strategy here. So if I have again, so the first thing is the molecule which is undergoing separation should have a charge. If it does not have a charge, by some technique you need to apply charge on it because it should move between electric field, positive and negative. Okay, so it should move through that particular thing and then it will get segregated, it will get sealed. Jaldi aagoge. Based on what? Based on its running ability, which is called as electromobility. Its mobility in the electric field, that is called as electromobility. Based on that, smaller molecule will run faster, followed by mediocre molecule, followed by heavier. This technique of separation is called as electrophoresis. And as I told you, not all phytochemicals can be subjected into it. So only charged phytochemicals could be subjected into it. And very importantly, phytoproteins could be subjected into it. Phyto-DNA could be subjected into it. Phyto-RNA could be subjected into it. So please remember, if I want to study the genomics, epigenetics, transcriptomics, okay, or metabolomics, for all these things I can use the technique which is called as electrophoresis. Basically, I can study the expression of a given metabolite. Basically, I can study the expression of a given metabolite by this technique which is called as electrophoresis. Okay, next. Like chromatography, we don't have multiple types. We have only 2 types. One is sleeping, the other one is standing. Okay, so there are 2 types of electrophoresis. One is sleeping electrophoresis, the other one is standing electrophoresis. Or this is also, sleeping is also called as horizontal gel electrophoresis, and this is called as vertical gel electrophoresis. Now please remember, horizontal gel electrophoresis, madam, last 2 minutes. Horizontal gel electrophoresis is mainly used for DNA and RNA, for separation of DNA and RNA. If I want to study phytogene regulation, I can go for horizontal. So in a horizontal ಏನು subject ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, it is DNA and RNA, DNA or RNA. Whereas in vertical or standing, I will subject the protein. Which protein? Phytoproteins. I will subject, example, I want to study the amount of protein in soya. I want to build something which is for muscle, gym, okay, and I want to see how much is the soya protein which is present and which is the soya protein which is actually active. Then I can run this. So this is called as vertical gel electrophoresis, vertical gel electrophoresis, or it is also called as it is vertical gel electrophoresis is for protein. That is for protein, and this is for DNA or RNA. Then this is called as age. This is called as the horizontal gel electrophoresis. The other name for horizontal electrophoresis is called as age. AGE. AGE stands for agarose gel electrophoresis. AGE stands for agarose gel electrophoresis. And the standing one or the vertical one, which is used for protein, this is called as PAGE. PAGE. Polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. Polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. Polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. So age and PAGE. Age and PAGE. So these are the only two different types of electrophoresis wherein I can do any kind of expression studies. Done? Okay, next step. So based on the molecular weight, it will get separated. You see the bands there? Based on the molecular weight. Heavier band will move lesser. Smaller band will move more. So that is how it will get segregated. And I think next is code. Okay, so this is with regard to thank you for being, a patient audience. Okay, I was skeptical to teach, and twice I had put up the proposal saying that we will do this session tomorrow. But then tomorrow we have a lot of things to be studied.